But, like the man said, what doesn't kill me just makes me stronger.
I cannot believe I'm saying this, but we're living in the timeline where Luna Snow is underperforming and Ultron might be meta next season. We're going to take a look at the balance patch notes that are coming to Marvel Rivals in Season 5.5. I'm going to do my best to kind of give you my insight and translate some of the stuff that's happening. So let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. I'm actually going to go ahead and start with the Ultron changes because they are massive. Ultron, battlefield coverage and utility are evolving. Imperative patch can now deploy up to 2 drones, allowing support for 2 allies at once. Already, this has been something that the Ultron mains have been talking about for quite a while, and I cannot believe that this is actually happening. Like, no limitations, just straight up, you now have 2 healing drones, which is a really big deal for Ultron because he's really been struggling in these last few balance updates, especially with Gambit and Invisible Woman just running away with the meta. That's still not all. I feel like that would have been like enough to kind of test the waters, but no, they're gonna keep going. Imperative Firewall now requires a target with imperative patch to use. After use, Ultron gains 65 bonus health. The target and nearby allies get 50 bonus health, plus the selected ally gains a 20% movement speed and a 10% damage boost. You want to talk about an insane bump up, an insane glow up for a character? That's wild to me. It seems like, at least how I'm understanding this here, you have to be within range of the drones in order to get the buff. You can't just apply it to yourself anymore. At least that's, I think, what they're trying to say here. But the fact that when you do, you get that 65 bonus health, you know, nice. Allies get the 50%, or the 50, okay. But the selected target gets 20% bonus movement speed, which we've seen is really good, especially with like Gambit's ults and Jeff's bubbles and such, but also a 10% damage boost. That's crazy. But to compensate for this, he is getting a mild nerf in the cost of his ultimate from 3,700 to 4,000, which is just below the cost of most of the other ultimates in the game. It's actually still one of the fastest, but still, Ultron, absolutely crazy. An insane buff. I'm gonna jump to another one here because Luna Snow couldn't not be meta for a single SAP season before she got a relatively impactful buff as well. Luna cools down her foes even faster and gets a brand new ability. She's never beating the allegations, is she? Yeah, no, everyone's got their eye on Zhong here. Reduce absolute zero startup time and increase projectile speed from 60 meters per second to 80 meters per second. We actually saw this when her skin came out. Everyone kind of raised an eyebrow when we saw that she was freezing targets a little bit faster. She's now a lot more consistent with it. It's practically instantaneous now, which is crazy. And that's not all. New ability, Luna can apply #1 idol to herself, separate from the share the stage, that's her snowflake. When #1 idol is active, 10% of healing to allies is converted to healing to Luna herself. Which, you know, I was kind of thinking to myself, all right, well, she has a little bit more sustainability as a trade-off for her healing. You know, that's kind of fine. I feel like that's a good place to start. Luna's been meta for like 5 seasons, almost 6 seasons now. But no, there's more. And she gains a 10% healing boost and a 10% damage boost. So yes, Luna is underperforming right now. If you look up the Marvel Rivals Hero Hot List, she's bottom 3. But it is kind of annoying that we finally got a season where Luna wasn't just like an absolute must pick because of the small nerfs and changes that have come to the other heroes and such. And immediately she's being brought back. You guys got to let me know in the comments what you think about that particular change, because personally, I think it would have been fine to let Luna take a back seat, to be a background dancer for just one more half season. Just let it sit just a little bit longer. Let's start going through these in order, starting with Emma Frost. Diamond, hard, and ready for more. With her team up anchor gone, Emma gets a slight durability upgrade to compensate. She has an increased base health from 550 to 600, which sounds like a 50 point health boost, but because she's losing her team up anchor bonus of 100, it's actually a very mild nerf to her, a 50 HP point nerf. Honestly, fine. Emma Frost has been a dominant force for a very long time. Same goes for Penny Parker here. Spider Pilot faces a slight durability downgrade. Base health decreased from 750 to 700. Penny has been banned in pretty much every single game I've been in, or at least most of every single game I've been in. I don't know if that's the same for you. Penny getting a slight downgrade in her health, I don't think that this is going to massively change her. You might feel this one a little bit more, being that unlike Emma, she doesn't have any like direct shielding, right? Outside of just her webs and such. The Thing getting a pretty big change here. Ben Grimm's punches hit harder and his crowd control lasts longer. It's clobbering time. Increase Stone Haymaker's bonus damage equal to enemies' max health per hit from 8% to 10%, which again, a pretty big deal. That means that the Thing is kind of a tank buster now, a tank busting tank. It's interesting. That means that like just from the max health alone, like not counting anything else, he's dealing 80 points of damage to characters with 800 health. Increase the duration of the lingering anti-mobility field after Yancey straight charge from 3 seconds to 5 seconds. Again, more leaning into his crowd control potential. The Thing is slowly starting to get better. His rework last season helped him out a lot. This, I think, will help. I don't know if this is going to change anything dramatically, but that small 2% increase might be the difference maker, especially now that he can stack that 20% vulnerability from last season. Thor takes some lessons from his battles against the zombies to heart. The God of Thunder is ready to take control of his lightning with increased flexibility. This one on paper doesn't sound like much, but the Thor mains, I'm sure, are kind of watering at the mouth at this one because of the potential that this opens up. During Storm Surge, that's his lunge, Thor can now freely adjust it while dashing and move in any direction. Thor can kind of fly now, and this makes his ability to kidnap targets, as we call it, a lot easier, because now he can kind of just do a little quick U-turn on targets and bring them into his team and potentially punish them big time. Thor might be really good coming up this next season. He's already been kind of all right. Blade continues to get buffs. He's getting scarier and scarier, and this one is no different. The Daywalker slightly sharpens his edge and his resilience. Increased Ancestral Sword single hit damage from 24 to 26, relatively big, and Whirlwind slash single hit damage from 15 to 16. So just a flat increase in his sword damage. Again, very good. That translates directly over to the amount of healing he receives as well. So this is a twofold buff. It's a pretty big buff to Blade. But again, that's still not all. Reduced Bloodline Awakening's reduced healing from 35% to 25%. That's a pretty big deal. You're going to feel that one, I can tell. Daredevil, very small nerf. Remove the team up anchor health bonus from 25, so now he's back down to his previous state. This is a little bit more noticeable on Daredevil because every point of health matters a lot more to Daredevil for his longevity, his ability to keep his health up with his bonus health, so this one actually might be a bit noticeable. Daredevil is still very, very strong right now. Human Torch, finally a change to Johnny that is mostly positive. There's some drawbacks here. Fire Cluster, slightly reduced projectile spread. They don't give us a number on this one, sadly. We just kind of have to guess, but that means that he will be a lot more consistent at range. That's always a good thing. More critical hits at range, so on and so forth, though. All around, good. How much? I don't know. They don't tell us. Increased single cast projectile damage from 5 to 5.5. Close to some of the damage numbers that he was pumping out previously, but this is a double-edged sword because they adjust the maximum fall off from 60% at 30 meters to 60% at 20 meters. Basically, he's dealing less damage at the really far ranges. They're pulling him to be more of like a shotgun. To compensate for that, though, again, good changes. Blazing Blast, reduce single charge speed from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Again, a great increase to his lethality, allowing him to keep this up a little bit more frequently. And increased hit damage from 40 to 45. A small change, but it will be welcomed. Human Torch probably won't be the bottom of the tier list this time. He actually probably be, all right. Phoenix. This one I didn't quite see coming, but I think it's a good one. Jean Grey's Fiery Spirit gets a slight summon boost. During Insong, her ultimate ability, increased Phoenix summon health from 400 to 500. So it's a little bit more consistent. I actually think this is a pretty good one because I think Phoenix is in a pretty good spot right now. However, that ult, especially in the higher tier play, does feel like just a wet noodle. Well-coordinated teams could shoot it down with very little issue. At least it's a little bit harder now. Psylocke catching yet another nerf. Psylocke's ultimate is a little harder to unleash. Increase the energy of her Dance of the Butterfly, her ultimate ability, from 2800 to 3400. That's a 600 point difference that's going to be pretty big. Psylocke was able to get her ult pretty darn fast, and now she's close to being on par with most of the other casts. So pretty big deal. Scarlet Witch, good changes. Love these. Wanda's Chaos Magic is more explosive. Increase the charge of the, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that, burst by Chaos Control hits from 0.08 to 0.1. Her alt fire, it's getting charged a little bit faster from her primary fire. So when she's got the close range like AoE beam, it's going to charge her ranged splash damage that she does a little bit faster by a pretty good amount, 0.02 increase. So nice. Increased Dark Seal projectile speed, that's her stunning ability, from 40 meters per second to 60 meters per second. So it's going to go a little bit faster. I don't know if this is going to throw anybody's timing off, but I don't know if that's going to be a big deal. And they removed the spell field generation delay. So basically, as soon as it hits, it's ready to go. It's ready to stun. This makes her a little bit more consistent overall. And yet that's not all. Increased Reality Erasers, her ultimate abilities pull from 2.4 meters per second to 3 meters per second. For context, when Mantis pops her ult, she gives all allies nearby a 3-meter increase. So this is going to be cutting most of the enemies in the game's movement speed down to little less than half. This is a pretty big one. This one you're going to feel. Will this bring Scarlet Witch out of the bottom tier? Probably not, but I do feel like there's a little bit more skill expression with her, which is great. Punisher, very simple change. Frank Castle got a little bit more firepower. Watcher 6, increased adjudication, that's his assault rifle damage from 19 to 20. So small increase in numbers for him there. Makes him a little bit more lethal. I don't think this is going to change anything drastically with him. Wolverine, Logan's ultimate just got a whole lot more freedom to leap, slash, and surprise his foes from every single angle. Last Stand can now target walls as a landing point. I think this was mostly done just to give him some options against like flying targets and such, and keep him out of danger potentially. I'll obviously have to see how this ends up interacting in the game, because I don't know if he's just gonna stick on the wall for a second, or if he's gonna hit the wall and then immediately fall to the ground with the enemy team on his claws still. Not entirely certain, but this is fine. I don't think this is going to do anything too drastic. Gambit. Gambit has been running the board, not just because he's the new hero, but because he's extremely strong. So this is a small nerf to his ultimate. Increase the energy cost of Raging Royal Flush, the ultimate ability, from 4,300 to 4,500. This is a slap on the wrist. Let's be so real. This is such a slap on the wrist. Gambit is really strong, and this is you're barely gonna feel this. Invisible Woman, talk about another slap on the wrist. Susan Storm's invisibility trick is now a little bit more precious. Increase the energy cost of her invisible boundary ultimate ability from 4,300 to 4,500. Same treatment as Gambit. I don't think anything is changing. Loki, this is kind of an interesting one. Increased damage and healing ratio of Loki's doppelganger from 80% to 90%. So yeah, that's just a 10% increase in his clone's lethality and their healing ability. Not bad. Rocket. Rocket's ultimate takes a little bit more juice to fire off. Very similar story. Increase the ultimate cost of his Cosmic Yard amplifier from 400 to 4,300. Again, it just means that most of the support ults in the game are going to be taking a little bit longer. I think the only ones that really weren't mentioned here that are up pretty often is like Cloak and Dagger. There's some team up changes, but if you saw the dev patch, you already know about those. Chilling Assault, Luna Snow, Iron Fist, and now Emma Frost is being added to it. Emma Frost now has a shield when she does this. We're gonna have to test this out when we get early access. Explosive Entanglement is adding Rogue in. Of course, we're gonna be testing Rogue as soon as we get our hands. I'm gonna phrase that differently. As soon as we get the opportunity to play her. So again, subscribe for all that. I'll hopefully have that out by like Thursday, maybe Friday. Mental Projection with Emma Frost and Psylocke is just gone altogether, obviously because they're getting added to the other team ups. And Sword of Duality is adding Psylocke in, which gives her a healing-esque ability, just like with how Hawkeye did it, and it also deals some damage too. So gonna be some interesting stuff. Overall, I'm pretty happy with these changes. Really, really glad to see Ultron getting the love he needs, because man, he was struggling. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know if there's somebody that you feel like maybe should have gotten more or less buffs, etc. Be sure to subscribe, bless your faces, and deuces.